I stood in the marble foyer of what used to be my investment. The chandelier above cost more than my first car, probably more than my second and third cars combined. "And this is the guest wing," my daughter-in-law said, her heels clicking on the polished floor as she gestured down a hallway to my left. "Perfect for overflow guests." I was the overflow. My son stood next to her, his hand on her waist, smiling at a couple I'd never seen before. They nodded appreciatively, champagne glasses in hand. Nobody was looking at me. "The master suite is this way," Jessica continued, leading the small tour group toward the grand staircase. "My parents actually helped us design it. They have such incredible taste." I watched them ascend. 23 people had shown up for this housewarming party. I'd met maybe 6 of them. The rest were Jessica's colleagues from the marketing firm, her book club friends, her parents' golf buddies. I was guest number 24. "My name is Richard Patterson. I'm 64 years old. I taught high school mathematics for 37 years in Sacramento. My wife died 6 years ago, breast cancer. She went fast, which the doctors said was a mercy. But it didn't feel merciful when I was signing cremation papers on our 41st anniversary. My son, David, is my only child. He's 36 now. Got his engineering degree from UC Davis, worked his way up at a tech company in the Bay Area, married Jessica 3 years ago. She's 34. Ambitious, came from money. Her parents own a commercial real estate company in San Jose. When David called me 18 months ago, he sounded excited. "Dad, we found it, the perfect house. 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths. In Los Gatos. There's a yard for kids someday. Jessica's already planning the nursery." "That's wonderful, son. There's just one thing." His voice shifted. I knew that shift. I'd heard it when he needed me to cover his car insurance in college, when his first apartment required a co-signer. "We're short on the down payment. The market's crazy right now. We need to move fast or we'll lose it." "How short?" "380,000. I was standing in my kitchen. My small kitchen. In my small house. In the neighborhood where we'd raised David. The neighborhood where my wife had died. I looked out the window at her rose garden, the one she'd spent 20 years perfecting. "Dad? You still there?" "That's a lot of money, David." "I know, but this house, it's an investment. Property values in Los Gatos only go up. We'll build equity, and once I get my next promotion, we can start paying you back. I just need help with this down payment." "Need, not want. Need." "What about Jessica's parents?" "They're helping with the closing costs and the furniture. But they've got 2 other kids. They can't cover everything." I'd been planning to use my retirement savings to travel. My wife and I had made lists. Italy, Greece, the Norwegian fjords. We'd postponed it all, waiting for the right time, and then time ran out. "Let me think about it," I said. I thought about it for 3 days. Then I transferred $380,000 from my retirement account into David's checking account. It was 70% of everything I had. He called me immediately. "Dad, I see it. Thank you. This means everything. Jessica and we're going to pay you back. I promise. This is just a loan until I get that promotion." "I know, son. We're going to make you proud." That was 18 months ago. The house closed in 30 days. David sent me photos of the moving process. Jessica posted updates on social media about painting walls and choosing light fixtures. I watched from Sacramento, waiting for an invitation to visit. It came 4 months later. Not from David, from Jessica, via a group text to about 40 people. "Housewarming party. Saturday, May 14th, 2 p.m. Casual dress. No gifts, please." I texted David separately. "Looking forward to seeing the house." He responded 6 hours later. "Great. See you then." I drove 2 hours to Los Gatos, found the address. The house was beautiful, I had to admit. Craftsman style, sage green with white trim, a covered porch with furniture that looked like it came from a magazine. I parked on the street because the driveway was full. A silver Lexus, a black Mercedes, a Tesla. I walked up to the front door carrying a bottle of wine I'd spent too much on. The door was open. Music floated out, something jazzy and sophisticated. I stepped inside. The foyer was exactly as I'm describing it to you now. Marble floors, that chandelier, a round table in the center with an enormous flower arrangement. Beyond it, I could see into an open-concept living area where people mingled, laughing, drinking. A young woman appeared, one of those pretty girls who probably got hired based on her Instagram following. She held an iPad. "Welcome. Can I get your name?" "Richard Patterson. I'm David's father." She scrolled, frowned, scrolled back up. "I'm not seeing you on the list." "I'm his father," I repeated. "Oh," she brightened. "You must be on the family list. That's separate. Let me just..." More scrolling. I'm not seeing a Richard Patterson on either list. Maybe it's under David Patterson's guest? No, he's listed as host. So is Jessica. Their parents are. She turned the iPad toward me. Wayne and Barbara Henderson are listed. Those are Jessica's parents. I stared at the screen. My name was nowhere on it. "I'm sure it's just an oversight," the girl said quickly. "Please, come in. There's a bar in the kitchen, food on the dining table. Make yourself comfortable." I walked past her. Nobody noticed. The living room was full of strangers, admiring built-in shelving, commenting on the fireplace mantel, taking photos in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the backyard. I found David near the kitchen, talking to an older couple. He saw me, and for just a second, something crossed his face. Surprise? Discomfort? "Dad, you made it." He came over, gave me a quick hug, the kind you give someone when you're busy. "What do you think of the place?" "It's impressive, right?" Jessica's vision really came together. "Come on, let me introduce you to some people." He led me to the older couple. The man had silver hair and a golf tan. The woman wore pearls and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Wayne, Barbara, this is my father, Richard." Wayne's handshake was firm, performatively firm. "Richard, good to meet you. David's told us a lot about you." "Has he?" "Wayne and Barbara helped us so much with this place," David said. "Barbara basically project managed the whole renovation." "It was my pleasure," Barbara said. "I just love bringing a vision to life. And Jessica has such exquisite taste. It must be genetic." She laughed, touching her husband's arm. "Richard was a high school teacher," David offered. Like he was explaining what I was doing there. "How noble," Barbara said. "Such important work, shaping young minds." The conversation moved on. They talked about countertops and contractors and a backsplash issue that Wayne had personally resolved. I stood there, holding my wine bottle, feeling like I was watching a play where I hadn't been given a script. That's when Jessica appeared with her tour group, gave me that line about the guest wing, and led everyone upstairs to see the master suite. I didn't follow. Instead, I walked through the first floor, taking it in. The kitchen had white quartz counters, stainless appliances, a wine fridge. The dining room had a table that could seat 12. The living room had furniture that looked uncomfortable, but expensive. And everywhere, in every room, there were photos. Jessica's family at a beach, Jessica and David at their wedding, with Barbara and Wayne prominently featured. Jessica's college graduation, a professional portrait of the four of them, Jessica's parents included, but no one from my side. My wife and I weren't in a single frame. I found myself in what looked like a home office. Built-in desk, leather chair, walls painted a serious navy blue. On the desk was a framed photo of David as a child. I'd taken that photo on his 8th birthday at the beach near Santa Cruz. He was holding a boogie board, grinning with a gap-toothed smile. "There you are." I turned. Jessica stood in the doorway, holding her own champagne glass. She'd changed outfits since I'd arrived. This dress probably cost more than I spent on groceries in a month. "Just admiring the office," I said. "David's sanctuary." She came in, looked around with satisfaction. "We splurged on the built-ins, but Wayne says quality furniture is an investment." "Wayne says a lot of things." She laughed, missing my tone. "He does. He's so knowledgeable. I'm lucky to have him as a resource. My parents have been so generous with their time and expertise. This whole process would have been impossible without them." I set down the photo of David. "I'm glad they could help." "Oh, they did more than help. They basically made this possible. The connections, the contractor recommendations, the design guidance. Mother has impeccable taste. And the money," I said quietly. "The money," You mentioned they helped financially. Oh, yes. They covered the closing costs and furniture. About 60,000, all in. Such a blessing. 60,000. She said it like it was the number that mattered. Well, I said, I should let you get back to your guests. Before you go, I wanted to show you something. She pulled out her phone, scrolled, turned it toward me. We're thinking about putting in a pool next summer. What do you think of this design? I looked at the screen. An infinity pool, a spa, landscaping that probably required a full-time gardener. Ambitious, I said. David's bonus should cover most of it. And Daddy knows a pool contractor who owes him a favor. It's all about who you know, right? I excused myself, walked back through the party, past people I didn't know, celebrating a house I'd paid for, grateful to people who'd contributed a fraction of what I had. I found the guest bathroom, the one down the hall, from the guest wing. It was nice, tasteful, but it was clearly the guest bathroom. No expensive fixtures, no heated floors like I'd bet the master had. I looked at myself in the mirror. When had I gotten so old? When had my son learned to look through me like I was furniture? I stayed in that bathroom longer than I needed to. When I came out, I heard Jessica's voice from the living room. She was standing on something, holding her champagne glass up. Can I have everyone's attention? I just want to say a few words. The room quieted. I stood in the hallway, out of sight, and listened. Thank you all so much for being here today to celebrate our new home. This house represents so many dreams coming true, and I need to thank some very special people who made it possible. Here it comes, I thought. Finally, first, my parents. Mother, Daddy, you two are incredible. From helping us find this place to guiding us through every decision, to your incredibly generous gift toward making this house a reality. We couldn't have done this without you. Please, everyone, a round of applause for Wayne and Barbara Henderson. The room erupted. I watched through the doorway as Wayne and Barbara stood, humble, smiling, accepting congratulations from strangers. Jessica continued, and to David's boss, Marcus, who's here today, thank you for taking a chance on David's proposal last quarter. That success really accelerated our timeline. More applause. David was beaming. Marcus, whoever he was, raised his glass. And finally, to all of you, our incredible friends and chosen family, your support means the world. This house isn't just a building, it's going to be filled with memories and love and laughter. We can't wait to host you all again and again. Cheers! Cheers! The room echoed. I stood in the hallway. Not mentioned. Not acknowledged. $380,000. And I was guest number 24, hearing about it from the overflow wing. I left before they cut the cake. Nobody noticed. The drive back to Sacramento took 3 hours. Traffic. I sat on the 101, barely moving, thinking about that moment in the bathroom mirror, about my wife's rose garden, about the lists of places we'd never see. When I got home, I sat in my kitchen. The house was quiet, too quiet. I pulled out my phone and looked at my bank statements. The transaction was right there. $380,000. Transferred on November 17th, 18 months ago. I opened my email and searched for David's name. Found the message he'd sent right after I made the transfer. Dad, I can't thank you enough for this loan. Jessica and I are committed to paying you back as soon as my situation stabilizes. This means the world to us. You're the best father anyone could ask for. I promise I won't let you down. Loan. He'd written it in all caps. Loan. I forwarded the email to myself. Then I searched my text messages. Found another one from 2 months after the house closed. Thanks again for lending us the down payment, Dad. Once this promotion goes through, we'll set up a payment plan. I know it's a lot. I won't forget what you did for us. I took screenshots, saved them in a folder. Then I did something I'd never done before. I called a lawyer. His name was Martin Cross. I'd found him through a colleague's recommendation, years ago, when I'd been updating my will after my wife died. I hadn't needed him for anything else until now. Richard, his voice was warm on the phone. It's been a while. How are you holding up? I need to sue my son, I said. There was a pause. I see. Why don't you come in tomorrow morning? Let's talk about this. I went to his office at 9 a.m. It was in Midtown Sacramento, one of those converted Victorian houses with hardwood floors and crown molding. Martin was in his 50s. Glasses, kind eyes, the kind of guy who probably spent his weekends coaching Little League. I told him everything. The request for money, the promise to pay it back, the emails and texts, the housewarming party where I'd been forgotten, the speech where Jessica thanked her parents. Martin listened, took notes. When I finished, he sat back in his chair. Do you have documentation that this was a loan, not a gift? I showed him the emails, the texts. He read them carefully. This is good. Clear language indicating a loan, promises of repayment, acknowledgement of the debt. How much contact have you had with David about repayment since he bought the house? I asked him about it 6 months ago. He said things were tight with the house expenses, but he hadn't forgotten. He said we'd figure out a timeline soon. And since then? Nothing. I've barely talked to him. He's always busy. Jessica's always planning something. I trailed off. The bank, Martin finished. You're just the bank. Yes. He tapped his pen on his notepad. Richard, I need to be clear with you about what this means. If we pursue this, you're going to damage your relationship with your son, possibly permanently. Legal action between family members tends to create wounds that don't heal. I understand. Do you? Because I need you to really think about this. Is this about the money, or is it about how they treated you? I thought about that bathroom mirror, about being guest number 24, about my wife's rose garden and the trips we'd never take. It's about both, I said. But mostly, it's about the fact that I gave him almost everything I have, and he can't even acknowledge I exist. If I let this go, I'm saying that's okay. I'm saying I don't matter. Martin nodded slowly. Okay, then let's make you matter. We filed the lawsuit 3 weeks later. Breach of contract. Demand for repayment of $380,000 plus interest, calculated at 5% annually from the date of the original transfer. The process server delivered the papers to David at his office. He called me 2 hours later. Dad, what the hell is this? It's a lawsuit, David. I can see that. Why are you suing me? Over the house money? I told you I'd pay you back. When things settle down, do you have any idea how expensive it is to maintain a house like this? The property taxes alone are... I don't care about your property taxes, David. I care that you took my money, promised to pay it back, and then erased me like I didn't exist. That's what this is about? The party? Jesus, Dad, I'm sorry we didn't make a bigger deal about you being there. It was Jessica's event, her friends. Her parents helped plan it. Her parents contributed $60,000. I gave you $380,000. Silence. You know what Jessica said to me, I continued. She said her parents made the house possible. Like I didn't exist. Like my money was just... What? Play money? Did you tell her how much I gave you? Of course I told her. Did you tell her it was a loan? Another pause. I told her you helped us with the down payment. Helped. That's an interesting word. Not loaned. Not expecting repayment. Helped. Dad, look, I know you're upset. I want my money back, David. All of it. With interest. You have 30 days to respond to the lawsuit. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. I hung up. Jessica called next. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Her voice was different than it had been at the party. Sharper. Richard, this is Jessica. I just heard about the lawsuit. I think there's been a misunderstanding. David said you were happy to help us with the house. We had no idea you expected repayment with interest like we're some kind of business investment. This feels very hurtful and transactional. We're family. I hope you'll reconsider this action before you damage your relationship with David permanently. Please call me back so we can discuss this like adults. I deleted the voicemail. David's lawyer responded to the lawsuit. Their position was that the $380,000 was a gift, not a loan. That the emails and texts were taken out of context. That my son had used phrases like, pay you back casually, the way anyone might say, I'll pay you back for picking up a dinner check, without literal intent. They offered to settle for $50,000. Martin showed me the offer in his office. They're testing you, seeing if you'll fold. What do you want to do? I want to go to trial. It'll be expensive, stressful, public. I know. He smiled slightly. Good, because I think we can win this. The trial was set for 6 months later. During that time, I didn't hear from David except through lawyers. Jessica unfriended me on social media. Her parents sent me a letter through their attorney, calling me vindictive and greedy. But something else happened too. My colleague from school, Patricia, called me. She taught English in the classroom next to mine for 15 years before she retired. Richard, I heard what happened. With David. News travels fast. Small world. My daughter's friend is friends with Jessica. She paused. I want you to know I think you're doing the right thing. You do? Absolutely. I've watched too many good people get used by their children. My sister gave her son $200,000 for a business that failed, and he never even tried to pay her back. She's living on Social Security now. You're standing up for yourself. That takes courage. It doesn't feel like courage. It feels like I failed as a father. No, she said firmly. David failed as a son. There's a difference. She became my sounding board over those months. Checked in on me, made sure I was eating, convinced me to join her book club. The other women in the group, all in their 60s and 70s, had similar stories. Children who'd borrowed money, children who'd forgotten where they came from, children who'd moved on to bigger, better things. You're doing what we all wish we'd done, one woman told me. You're showing him that respect isn't optional. The trial lasted 3 days. David's lawyer was good, young, expensive looking, the kind of guy who probably drove a car like the ones in David's driveway. He argued that the money was a gift, that I'd never asked for repayment in writing, that the casual language in the emails didn't constitute a legal contract. Martin was better. He put me on the stand first, had me walk through my career, my retirement savings, my wife's death, the plans we'd had, the travel brochures we'd collected, the careful budgeting that had allowed us to save $380,000 over 40 years of teaching. Mr. Patterson, he said, when your son asked you for this money, what did you think you were doing? I thought I was giving him a loan to help him get started. Just like I'd loaned him money for his car in college, for his apartment deposit. He always paid me back before. I trusted he would again. Did you want anything in return? I wanted him to be happy, to have a home, to build a life. But yes, I expected repayment. It was my retirement, my future. Did you communicate that to your son? Yes, multiple times. He acknowledged it. He promised. Then Martin showed the emails, the texts, pulled up the exact messages where David used the word loan in all caps, where he promised payment plans, where he thanked me for lending him the down payment. David's lawyer tried to cross-examine. Isn't it true, Mr. Patterson, that you never asked your son to sign a promissory note? No, I didn't. You never specified an interest rate or a payment schedule? No. You never sent him a bill or a payment reminder? No. So really, this was a casual family arrangement, wasn't it? The kind of help a father gives a son without expecting anything back. I looked at David. He was sitting at the defense table, not meeting my eyes. Jessica was next to him, her hand on his arm, looking supportive and wronged. If I'd known my son was going to erase me from his life, I said slowly, I wouldn't have given him $1. The lawyer tried to object, but the judge allowed it. Then Martin called David to the stand. Watching my son swear to tell the truth, knowing he was about to lie, was one of the hardest moments of my life. David's lawyer led him through his version. The money was a gift. His father had insisted he didn't need to pay it back. The emails were just politeness, the way you thank someone for a generous present. He'd never intended to repay it because it was never a loan. Then Martin stood up. Mr. Patterson, in your email, dated November 17th, the day your father transferred $380,000 to your account, you wrote, and I quote, Dad, I can't thank you enough for this loan. Did you write that? Yes, but did you capitalize the word loan? Yes. Why did you capitalize it? David shifted. I was emphasizing how grateful I was. By calling it a loan, it was just... That's how I was thinking of it at the time. And 3 months later, you texted your father, Thanks again for lending us the down payment. Did you send that text? I did. What does lending mean to you? I don't know. It's just a word. Is it? Because according to the dictionary, lend means to allow someone to use something with the understanding that it will be returned. Is that not correct? I guess. So when you thanked your father for lending you the down payment, you were acknowledging that the money would be returned? I don't remember what I meant. Martin pulled out more messages. 6 of them, over the course of a year, where David referenced the loan, the repayment, the debt. Each one, David tried to explain away. Each time, his explanations got weaker. Finally, Martin said, Mr. Patterson, at the housewarming party, your wife gave a speech thanking her parents for making the house possible with their generous gift of $60,000. Is that correct? Yes. She thanked them publicly for $60,000. Did she mention your father's $380,000 anywhere in that speech? No. Did you mention it? No. Why not? David looked at Jessica, at his lawyer, at the judge. I don't know. It didn't come up. $380,000 didn't come up, but $60,000 did. Can you explain that to the court? Jessica was closer to her parents. They were more involved in the process. More involved than funding 86% of your down payment? Objection, David's lawyer said. Argumentative. Sustained, the judge said. But she was looking at David with an expression I recognized. The same one I'd seen in my bathroom mirror at the housewarming party. Martin sat down. The closing arguments were predictable. David's lawyer painted me as a bitter old man who'd given a gift and now wanted it back out of spite. Martin painted David as someone who'd made promises he never intended to keep. The judge took 2 days to decide. When we returned to the courtroom, she looked tired. This is a difficult case, she said. Family disputes always are, but at the end of the day, the law must be applied, regardless of the relationships involved. She went through the evidence, the emails, the texts, the language used, the promises made. The court finds that the $380,000 was a loan, not a gift. The defendant's own written communications make this clear. The defendant acknowledged the debt multiple times and promised repayment. The lack of a formal promissory note does not negate the existence of a debt when the parties' communications demonstrate clear intent. I felt Martin's hand on my shoulder. The court awards the plaintiff $380,000, plus interest calculated at 5% annually from the date of the original transfer. Additionally, the court awards attorney's fees and costs. The defendant has 60 days to arrange payment. The total came to $422,000. David stood up. Your Honor, I can't pay that. I don't have that kind of money. Then, I suggest you explore your options, Mr. Patterson. You can sell assets, refinance property, or arrange a payment plan with your father. But the debt must be satisfied. Jessica was crying, quietly, into her hands. Wayne and Barbara sat behind them, stone-faced. I walked out of that courtroom, feeling lighter than I had in 18 months. David didn't speak to me for 3 weeks. Then his lawyer called Martin with a proposal. They would refinance the house, cash out equity, and pay me in full within 30 days. I agreed. The check arrived on a Tuesday, $422,000. I deposited it, watched my account balance jump from $150,000 to $572,000. Not quite where I'd been before I gave David the money, but close. Patricia called that night. How are you feeling? Truthfully, I don't know. I won, but I lost my son. Did you? Or did you lose an illusion of who your son was? I thought about that. About the boy in the boogie board photo. About the man who'd looked through me at his own housewarming party. Maybe you're right, I said. What are you going to do now? I looked at my computer screen. I'd pulled up a travel website. Flights to Rome. 8 days, all expenses included. I'm going to Italy, I said. My wife and I always wanted to go. I think it's time. Good, Patricia said. It's time you lived for yourself. I booked the trip that night, left in 2 weeks. Spent 8 days walking through the Colosseum, eating pasta in small trattorias, standing in the Sistine Chapel, looking up at Michelangelo's ceiling. I thought about my wife every day, wished she was there, but I also felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. When I got back, there was a letter in my mailbox, hand-addressed, David's writing. I almost didn't open it, sat at my kitchen table for 10 minutes, just looking at the envelope. Finally, I tore it open. The letter was short. Dad, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I wouldn't blame you if you threw this away without reading it, but I need to say something. You were right about everything. I took your money and I took you for granted. I let Jessica's parents get all the credit because it was easier than admitting how much I owed you. I told myself you didn't care about recognition, that you were just happy to help, but that was a lie. The truth is, I was ashamed. Ashamed that at 36 I still needed my father's help. Ashamed that I couldn't do it on my own, so I pretended the help didn't exist. I erased you because seeing you reminded me of my failure. That doesn't excuse what I did. Nothing excuses it. You gave me everything and I gave you nothing. Not even respect. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect another chance. But I want you to know that I understand now. And I'm sorry. Your son, David. I read it 3 times. Then I folded it, put it back in the envelope, and placed it in a drawer. I didn't respond. 6 months later, I was having coffee with Patricia when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Hello? Mr. Patterson? This is Rebecca Stiles. I'm a real estate agent in Los Gatos. Okay. I'm calling because a property you might be interested in just came on the market. Your son and daughter-in-law's home. I set down my coffee cup. They're selling? Yes, they listed it yesterday. I know this might be uncomfortable, given your history with them, but the listing price is actually quite good, and I thought you might want to know. Why are they selling? I probably shouldn't say. But since you're family, I can tell you they're downsizing. Something about financial pressures. They're looking at townhouses in San Jose. After I hung up, Patricia raised an eyebrow. What was that about? David's selling the house. The house you paid for? Yes. How do you feel about that? I thought about it. About the marble foyer. About the guest wing. About being overflow. I feel nothing, I said. And I realized it was true. I used part of the money to remodel my house. New kitchen, new bathroom. My wife's rose garden got a professional landscaping upgrade. I hired someone to maintain it, to keep it beautiful the way she would have wanted. The rest of the money went into investments. Conservative ones, the kind that would grow slowly but surely, and a travel fund. Greece was next, then Norway. All the places on the list. I'm 65 now. I retired from teaching last year. Spend my mornings reading, my afternoons with Patricia and the book club ladies, my evenings planning trips. I think about David sometimes. Wonder how he's doing in that townhouse. Whether he ever thinks about me. Whether Jessica's parents visit them in the smaller place with the smaller dining room. But mostly, I think about my wife. About the years we had. About the years I still have. I gave David everything. My money, my trust, my faith that being a good father meant sacrifice without limits. He taught me something valuable in return. That love without respect is nothing. That giving without acknowledgement is erasure. That sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to demand what you're owed. I don't regret suing my son. I regret that it was necessary, but I don't regret getting my life back. Last month, I got another letter. David and Jessica's divorce papers had been finalized. He'd kept the townhouse. She'd moved in with her parents. He wanted me to know, wanted me to understand that I was right about her, about the marriage, about everything. I read the letter, put it in the drawer with the first one. Some doors, once closed, should stay that way. I'm flying to Athens next week. Patricia's coming with me. We're going to see the Parthenon, eat Greek food, sail to the islands. I'm going to stand in places my wife dreamed about, and I'm going to live for both of us. And if I'm lucky, I won't think about marble foyers or guest wings or the son who forgot to mention my name. I'll just think about the light on the Aegean Sea and how beautiful it is to finally choose myself.